Okay, how about now? Okay, you guys can hear me now? Sorry. I had to go live in my group and separately. Can you hear me now? Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Okay. Sorry about that. Feels like I haven't been live in ages, so maybe I'm just getting rusty. Awesome. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for watching me today. I have a really, really fun bundle to show you guys today. I will go into that a little bit more here real quick, but make sure you do the hashtag layers of beauty if you want to be entered for the prize. I'm going to be giving away the PDF tutorial for my In Color Club for July that features the layers of beauty. So you'll definitely want to tune in for that. And I'm also going to send you the 2 cards we make today. So you're going to get the tutorial and the 2 cards. So big prize. So hashtag layers of beauty. Um, and then if you guys would just humor me and tell me what your temperature is, what the temperature is outside where you live right now, because it's been the hot topic here in the Tri-Cities. We were 105 yesterday. We hit 109 last week. Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday was 109. So it's been really freaking hot. And my poor AC has been working its little tail off to keep us cool. And it's trying its darndest. So it's been super warm. So let me know what it is where you live. Just curious. Taking the temperature of the of the different states of the different places you guys live. It's definitely a perfect time to be inside crafting, in my personal opinion, because it's too hot to function. Okay, so like I said, layers of beauty. This one for me was a sleeper, or one that I really was like, I don't need more flowers in my life. Like, I'm good. I've got enough flowers. And I was wrong. I was wrong. I needed more flowers in my life. I love this bundle, and I'm going to show you why today. Okay, sorry. My my phone must be super heavy because the arm that holds my phone is just like, and it keeps like sinking down, and I'm like, stop. Please stop. Okay, so 89 degrees in Texas, huh, Anita? Woof. Gonna be hot. Hi, Barb from Tucson. Barb's like, that's nothing here, Tiffany. Like, calm down. Don says it's windy in Whidbey Island. Oh, 65 high. High of 73. Oh, that's my weather right there. I need to move where you're at. Oh my gosh. 89, 69 in Everett. Yeah, I feel bad for the west side of the state because they're usually cool and rainy, and when it gets super hot, a lot of those houses they don't have AC, because it just doesn't make sense to have AC where it's not hot usually, but when it does get really hot, that's miserable for them. Okay, so enough about the weather. Let's go ahead and get into this bundle. It was featured in November when I went to, or not November, March when I went to on stage. They used this bundle, and I was intrigued, but not like, oh my gosh, I have to have this. And I kept adding it to my cart and taking it out, and adding it to my cart and taking it out. And finally I bit the bullet, and I can't even really remember. I think it must have been all the things I was seeing done with it. But the thing that really like sold it for me was the masks, and they are so fun to use. And I've made a couple cards with them in the past, and I went ahead and used them as my featured bundle for In Color Club. So I'm going to show you guys those projects. My In Color Club people, I have my in-person on Tuesday, and I have my to-goes getting mailed off this weekend. But I did 2 cards using this set, and we did it in 2 different ways. So I'm going to show you guys to those today. So the first one is this one here. And I actually heat embossed the outline and then watercolor painted the inside of the card, or inside of the flowers and leaves. So this one's a really fun technique, and it doesn't use the masks whatsoever. So this is an option if you want to play around with other ways to color your flowers besides markers and the masks. And then I did this card here, which I had so much fun kind of cutting apart the flowers to extend the design. So there's lots of great ways. In one card, I cut the flowers in half, and I had half of the flowers on this side and half of the flowers on that side for my catalog launch party. And that one was a really fun card as well. So this is just featuring, these two are featuring Petunia Pop, which is the new in color that's purple. I'm going to show you guys now with Summer Splash because it's one of my favorites. And I just like to see the different varieties. I went ahead and did the roses in 4 out of the 5 colors. And the reason I didn't do 5 is because Shy Shamrock is just not the color. Like a green rose, not gonna really cut it. So I did these using the mask. I stamped in Memento Black, and then I used the mask to color the flowers in all of the in colors, and then the leaves are Shy Shamrock. So this is Summer Splash, like a blue rose, really pretty. This is Pretty in Pink, so you've got the nice pink blushy flower. This one's probably my favorite. This is Peach Pie, and I love orange roses. Aren't those gorgeous? And then Petunia Pop, which you've seen before. And again, what I like is that it's just using one ink pad to accomplish these beautiful layers and shading on the roses. It's really a really cool technique. So we're going to go ahead and make this card. We're going to make both cards. So let's start with this one. And so I can show you guys how the masks are used, and then we'll switch over to the embossing and I can show you guys how to watercolor. It'll be fun. So we're going to do Summer Splash. So that is the color I chose today. So let's go ahead and move these out of the way. Now I already put my flower stamp. It's a really big flower stamp. Look at this. It's one big giant stamp. And this is on an F block. Okay. So I don't even know if Stampin' Up! Sells F blocks anymore, but this is the size you need for this flower, unless you have like a Misty or whatever. The other thing I want to point out is that I numbered my masks, and it helps me keep things in order. And I want to show you, there's a couple different things that these masks have that are very helpful. So if you'll notice this little notch here in the corner, if you keep all of your, to know that you have like the right side of your mask, because you know, if it flips over, you'd be like, wait, is this the front or is this the back? It's not lining up. I can't figure it out. Well, there's always this notch. And so if you have all your notches in the same place, in the same direction, you know that you're lining it up correctly. Because if you have all the notches lined up, then you've lined it up. Then it matches where it's supposed to be. The other thing I did was I numbered them. So I used a permanent marker and I put 1 as this is my first layer, and then 2, that's my second layer. And the way that you can tell is the level of space. So this has the most open space, so it's the first level. This one has the second most open space, so that's the second level. And then you can see the third level has the least amount of space open, right? So that's the third level. And then the same with the leaves. So the leaves, this one is level 4 and it has some pretty good open space. And then level 5 is less open space. Okay. So it's like the layer inside of a layer. And that'll make sense here in a second as we go through this. But it's really, once you start using it, you're just going to be like, wow. You're not going to think that it's going to do anything special. But when you see the finished product, you're like, oh my gosh, it's magic. It's beautiful. So we're going to use those. So the first thing we have to do is stamp it. You can pick Memento Black. You can do Stays On. You could even stamp it in the colors that you're going to be doing. Like if you wanted it to kind of be no line, you could do a light tan color, or you could do the same color as the ink that you're going to color the rose if you don't want a line. So there's all kinds of fun different ways that you can do this. Okay. No more F block, Terry says. That's just crazy to me. Crazy, crazy. How are you supposed to stamp this big, beautiful rose if there's no F block? Okay. So we're going to stamp our flower. And this thing just keeps falling down. I don't like it. Don't fall down. Say, hang on, guys. For those of you who get motion sickness, look away. I'm going to fix this camera, or at least attempt to fix this camera one more time. You get a nice shot of my belly. Let's see if just changing where I hold the camera will fix it a little bit. Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. No guarantees. All right. So I'm stamping my giant flower here. Look at that beauty. So this is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You actually do need like a full quarter of a sheet of cardstock to stamp the entirety of the flower. So just keep that in mind. A 4 by 5 1/4 is not going to be big enough. It might be if you stamp it diagonally or something, but I just, to make sure that I get it all the way, I just cut a quarter of a piece of cardstock. So 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so that I know that it's big enough to stamp on my scrap of paper. Okay. All right. The other thing I recommend you have is a sticky note or washi tape or something, because you want to hold down um, your flower. Now, when I am trying to figure out how this lines up with my picture, I always use, I know it's funny, but I always use these 3 sets of flowers right here, because I know that they're 3 as a bunch down here. So that's what I use. I always use these 3 flowers as my guide. The notch. Oh, and I forgot to point this out. The notches even have, if you didn't want to write on your thing, the notches have this tiny little 1 mark. Sorry, my nail's disgusting, but a little 1. So they have numbers on the notches. That's helpful. But of course, I could not read that. I just barely saw that right now. So I need to have my big marker ready. So anyways, the notch should always be on the right side. Okay. And then you just kind of tilt and turn and pivot until you've got all of your flowers in those openings. Okay. So I've got all my little tiny flowers are lined up, my little buds are lined up, and then the big 3 are lined up. And then I like to use sticky notes for this. You could use washi tape. I take sticky notes and I stick them down over top of the sections that are exposed past the mask. So I'm holding down the mask and the paper. It's important because if you don't hold down the paper as well as the mask, it will shift and move on you. Okay. Now I'm going to use, like I mentioned, Summer Splash as my color. And I am sorry that my camera does that little jumpy thing. I don't know how to make it stop. Stop the madness. I don't know how. Okay, so I have my blending brush. This is my blue blending brush. I made sure that all of the residual ink was off before I started this. And then I'm just going to use a light amount of ink. So this is my first layer, and my first layer should always be the lightest. Okay, so I'm just going to start slowly and gently brushing on the color. And then it's always easier to start with a light amount, and then you can go into a darker amount if it's not dark enough. You can add more color, but you can't take color away. So I say start light, and you can go on to darker if you need to. So you just want to make sure that all of the exposed area has ink on it. It's so easy. I love it because I don't have to stay in the lines. Like I can just blend everywhere and everything is going to get the ink. I don't have to be careful. Okay, so that's all I want for my first layer. It's nice and light. It's very, very light. So look at that. Look at that pretty light blue color. So that's it for mask 1. Then we're going to go on to mask 2. Same thing. We're going, and I'm always making sure the notch is on the right side. I'm making sure that my 3 little spaces are lined up with the flowers. Now, I think it's really cool because the centers of the flowers are covered. And that's how I know I'm in the right spot, is because these little flowers have centers, and you'll see where it lines up, all of the centers are covered, because you don't want to color the inside of your flower blue. These little flowers, right? Centers of flowers are usually a different color. So, okay. So I've got my things covered up. My next layer, and this one I'm going to go a little bit darker. So again, this is adding layers of color. So I'm just adding another layer of blue on top of the first layer of blue. And less of the flower is showing, so there's still going to be some light areas that we shaded that will stay the original blue I put on, and then these exposed areas will be a darker blue. And that's how we get that shading, is thanks to these handy dandy layers. Okay, so that's my second layer. It's darker than my first layer, so let's move it up and see what we've got. Look at that. Ah, so pretty. It already looks like shading, right? Looks like some shadow. All right, now our third one. Now these ones are interesting because the third one has all these little circles. And these actually happen to be the centers of those little flowers that I talked about. And so what I'm going to do is just make sure that those holes, those centers, line up with the centers of the flowers. So you can see it's lined up, lined up, lined up. Okay. And again, the notch is on my right side. Now, if you wanted to, I don't have a, oh gosh, what are they called? Whiteboard marker. But if you had a whiteboard marker, you could make a little dot right here. And then you would know that every time you would just line up the dot with inside the notch. So if the notches are lined up, your image is lined up. So that's another way that that's, I think the intent for the notch is that you could have a mark and then line it up. But your paper, the white paper underneath has to never move in order for that to be true. So you'd have to like tape your paper down or something to ensure that that is the case every time. Okay, so this is our third and darkest layer. So I'm actually going to avoid those little center circles because I'm going to use my marker and color them yellow. So now that I've got my ink on the three flowers, these centers are I'm going to use my marker, my Daffodil Delight blend, and I'm just going to fill in those flower centers. Okay. It's just so cool to see all these layers come together. And let me just check my group comics. Oh, Kelly says on page 83 there is an F block. Oh, and Sharon said the exact same thing that I suggested, is making a notch at the or making a mark at the notch, and then you'd know that all of them are lined up. So when I said that was like, you would have to have, wherever that notch is going to be, you'd have to have your white piece stuck down so it wouldn't move. And then wherever you have this, you can make your little notch mark, right? And then the next one you would just know, oh, it goes right there, and then you know it's lined up. See how that works? So, okay, so now we're on to the leaves. And I'm going to use Shy Shamrock for the leaves. Okay. And I'm using a different blend. I have my blender brush. I have my blue. I'm going to set that aside and grab my green for the Shy Shamrock. Okay, and so again, same thing. The notch should line up where the notch goes, and you're looking to expose all of the leaves. And this is what I like about the first mask, the largest, is that it should encompass the entirety of the leaves, right? So all of the leaves should be showing through the openings, and then you would stick them down. I've got to get my little sticky note here. Just want to make sure that's lined up. And then I'm just sticking it over top of my white piece and my mask, like so. Okay. And then we're going to take our blending brush. And again, I want this layer to be light. So I'm kind of wiping off any excess there, and then just going over with a light hand. A light hand. Getting that Shy Shamrock everywhere. Look how pretty that is. Okay, so we're going to take that off. You guys, look. Even just like this. So pretty. But we're going to get one more layer of the leaves down. So 4 and 5, the 4th and 5th layer is all leaves. Okay. 1 through 3 are the flowers, and then 4 through 5 are the leaves. So this time we're going to do a little bit darker, which means more ink. And the cool part is that you could lift this up and say, is it dark enough for me? And then you can go back and say, nope, it's not. And you could put another layer on if you wanted. But this is perfect for me. I love it. Look at that. Look at the layers, the detail, the shading. So cool. Okay. So now we're going to die cut this flower. And the dies are just really awesome. There's some really great dies, and I want to kind of go over them with you a little bit because you can cut out smaller sections of the flower by, you stamp and color the whole thing, but you can cut them apart. So you can see here, this will cut out your entirety, like the in full picture in one. I love that. But then you also have these smaller ones, and the smaller one will cut out, let's see, which one is it? This one here. So this one will cut out just the biggest flower. And I think there's another one. These ones that have open like this will cut out sections. I just have to figure out which ones. So this one I think cuts, let's see, where does it cut? I'm going to say it's this one, but maybe not. It's got to cut out something. Oh, that one is actually this stamp here. Sorry. So it cuts out this individual flower stamp. Then we've got these 2 leaves. So we've got this leaf and this leaf with the little buds on it. And then we have this little flower. So the only one that cuts out of this stamp is this big rose. Okay. It also has this cute little label that fits the words God bless in there. So nice, unless you have other little sentiment you want to use in there. And then I love these flowers. So these are standalones. They don't need stamps. They're just to die cut some accent flower or some accent leaves. And we're going to use those on our other card. So lots of great options. But we're going to go ahead and die cut this. And so as not to undo all of the work that we did, I'm going to use those same sticky notes to hold my die down where I need it to be. Okay. Okay. So let's run that through the machine. And my sticky note's going to be too big. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's carefully take the sticky note off. And the big reveal. Look at that beauty. So pretty. Okay. All right, so to make this card, we are going to take our base, which is basic white, thick basic white. Always got to go with the thick. I have a piece of the designer series paper in the Summer Splash, and I'm going to glue that down to my card. This is 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. Oh! Got glue everywhere. Mayday. I'm just gluing that down to the bottom half of my card. I'm making sure it's flush with the bottom. I'm gonna get my baby wipe and clean my mess up, my glue mess. Okay. All right, so we've got our piece of designer series paper down on the card. And then this part, you're going to like kind of lay this on here, and you're going to want to cut off the excess. So what I'm going to do is kind of lay this across here, and there's this edge here that I want to cut off, and I'm just going to cut right along this this edge while I'm holding the card down. So I'm just holding it down. I haven't glued anything down yet, but I just want this section for the top of the card. So I'm just cutting it off the side. So see how it's gone off the side there? And then on this side, it's just a little bit poking over. So I'm just going to trim that off. I don't need it. Okay. So there's how my card, or my flowers are going to lay on my card front. Okay. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit because I want to put this piece at the top corner to kind of look like it's filling in the page from the top. Like the roses are growing all around. Okay, so I'm going to use my dimensionals to glue this flower down to the front of the card. And I'm going to use some minis, a combination of mini and of the full-size dimensionals. The mini will be great for this little piece that we cut. Nice and tiny. And we're just going to glue that flush to the top, as flush as I can make it. I think that's good enough. And then we're going to do the same on this one. We're going to put dimensional backing, or not dimensional backings, but dimensionals all along the back of this flower. Okay, that's it on the big ones. Let's use some littles around the edges. You don't need to use dimensionals, but I kind of like that floating flower look. If you know, you know. If you know what I'm talking about. It does not, it's not required, but I just like the look of it. So I'm just adding dimensionals where I think at the ends of the flowers there needs to be some support. And maybe a few in the center. Now, if you don't have nails and you need to pick up the backings of these, pick off the backings of these, you can use you take your pick tool or a piercing tool, and you can stab the centers of the back of the dimensional and get the backing off. It's kind of fun to do. I have nails, so I don't have a problem getting them off, but if you've got fake nails or you don't have any nails, this is a great way. Quick and easy and kind of fun. Way to pick up the backings. Just collect them all. Almost through. Put quite a few. Makes me miss Ashley when I used to count her dimensionals that she used, because I always used to tease her that she used too many dimensionals. And we would tease each other and we would count how many dimensionals we used. Okay. All right, so then we're going to take this and we are going to adhere it down to our card. And I'm just trying to not stick it down until I've got it where I want it. Okay. There we go. Look at that. So cute. I love the blue. All right. So now we need to stamp and cut our label. I did a stitched label, and I added some embellishments and some baker's twine. So the dies that I used for the label is from the Stylish Shapes dies. I used this guy right here. And if you'll notice, if you're big into details, you'll notice that it's stitched all the way around. You're like, how did I do that if it's bannered on both ends? Well, I'm going to show you that here real quick. So let's move all my junk out of the way. Bring my machine here. Okay. All right. So I have a scrap that I'm just going to cut. And if you want to cut it straight, you can do that. It doesn't matter. But I don't need that other end. So I'm just going to cut right here on the edge of the paper. It's not going to give us the stitched edge that we need just yet. We got to do some more work. Okay. So there's what we've got so far. Okay. Can you see that? Now what we're going to do is we're going to stick this back through one more time, but we're going to only stick, oh, you can see where I dipped my finger in the ink. You're only going to stick part of the die back through. Okay. So the only part that's underneath that's going to get cut is this part here. This part is not under the die. And we're only going to put the plate on half of the die. So it only cuts where the plate is. Okay. It's a very great way to change the shape of your dies. Look at that. And now I've got a stitched edge all the way around. Okay. So we've got our die, we can put that away. And now we're going to stamp our sentiment. So we're going to stamp the sentiment Grateful for You from the Layers of Beauty stamp set, which is right here. And on this card, I'm leaving the inside blank because it's like a thank you card. So I'm going to stamp with Shy Shamrock. Nope, I'm not. I'm stamping with Summer Splash. So same color as the rose and the DSP. So Summer Splash. It fits perfectly within our little label here. Boom. Grateful for You. Okay. Now we're going to take some linen thread. I just have this white, or baker's twine. I'm sorry. I have white baker's twine. And all I'm going to do is wrap it around my finger and just cut a little loop there. And then the way I like to do this is I take my, let's see, I want it like that. Okay, so I take my little layer of linen thread and I lay it down on the back of the label just the way that I want it. And then I take dimensionals and I use the dimensionals to stick down the linen thread so it's not going to move. Okay. And then we're going to stick that right there on the side of the card. And then the only thing left to do is just add some bling. And my favorite bling to add is the 2024-2026 In Color Shimmer Gems. My favorite. So we'll take some gems and we'll stick them around the entirety of our card. Do one more big one over here. And boom. Done. Super cute. Love the blue. So here's the purple. And here's the blue. And our in colors are just great for this. I just think they are all so pretty and so different. And I'm loving it. So that's how you use the masks. I think that they are great fun. And I don't know, I'm just really enjoying them. But I'm excited to show you how not to use the masks as well, using the embossing and the watercolor paints. It's going to be really, really fun. Are they back in stock? Well, last I checked on Monday, they weren't, but I really would like them to be. Okay, so this one we're gonna do, but we're gonna do it with the Summer Splash again. So this is a very beautiful card. It's takes time to do, but it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be great. So as I mentioned before, a quarter piece of the basic white is what you'll need to stamp the flower. And in this case, we're going to be using a heat embossing and white emboss powder. So I'm going to take my embossing buddy and pass it over the card to make sure I've gotten all of the oils and things off of the cardstock, so that when I stamp with the Versamark, which is kind of a clear sticky ink, the powder will only stick to the Versamark and not oils or anything that's on the paper. So that's what the embossing buddy does, and it's very important to use, especially I think when you're embossing on darker colors, because any stray specks of embossing powder is just very visible. With white, it's not so much, but I just am in the habit of doing it for all of my embossing. So you're just going to press that down and make sure that the embossing powder reaches, not the embossing powder, but the Versamark ink is nice and stamped everywhere. And white on white's really hard to see. But you can kind of tilt your piece of paper and you can see a little bit. You can kind of see down there a little bit of the outline. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick it in our embossing tray and we're going to cover it with white emboss powder. Okay. And then just make sure that the whole thing is covered. Now you can see it a little bit better. I know on camera it's still a little hard to see, but there you go. There's all that embossing powder that's stuck to the Versamark ink. I'm going to put all the excess powder back in my tray. Now, the next step is heating it. So you heat the embossing powder and it turns into a liquid that sticks to the card. So we need to do that. And this can be a little tedious. You have to be patient and you don't want to be too close to the paper. You don't want to burn it, but you don't want to be too far away that you're here till next Sunday embossing this piece of paper. So here we go. It gets really hot, so keep your fingers out of the way. And you'll notice when it's done, like it'll turn from a dark powder to like a shiny white. And you'll know that it's done. So as soon as it does that, I just kind of start moving the heat tool to the next part until that section has all turned white. And I just keep going. I know it's hard to see. Maybe I can bring it up closer. So it goes from powder to white. So powder to white, powder. Yeah, my camera's just not capturing it, but if you're in person, you'll see it. But it gets really hot, so just be careful of your hands. Using tweezers is always a good idea. Okay, so from what I can see, everything looks like it's nice and embossed. You want to make sure though, because you don't want any stray powder left, You want it to all be shiny and white so that um, it doesn't brush off. Because if it's just powder, it will brush off. But this looks good. This is all exactly what I expect to see. All right, the next part is the fun part. We get to color, and I'm going to be using my watercolor water painters. I'm using kind of a medium tip, a medium brush tip, and I'm just going to, now, if you don't like getting the inside of your ink tray or ink cartridge dirty, you can take a block and stamp the block and use the ink that transfers to the block. I don't mind squishing the ink into the lid of my tray or of my ink. I think it's better this way. But you're going to get your brush wet, but not dripping. Okay, nice and wet. My finger's getting wet, so I'm going to pick up some of this ink. And what I recommend doing when you start to color these flowers is less is more. You want to start with a light layer. And isn't it great that when you start to color over this, it's like the embossing kind of keeps everything in the lines. And then also the lines stay white. So, and if you ever feel like the ink is getting too dark, you can always add more water. But yeah, you just want to stay light at first. So I'm just adding ink to the flower. Okay. And I'm going to move on to the next flower and do like a light layer. It's always handy to have a paper towel with you. I don't have a paper towel with me because that was dumb. So this is just the base right now of the flowers. So once you've got the first layer of the flower done, you can see how I've colored the I'm just like trying to get these little corners. I've colored it. Now with this is regular paper. This is not watercolor paper. So you do not want to be sitting here putting too much liquid on the paper and rubbing and making a lot of moisture and friction, because this paper doesn't hold up very well. This is not watercolor paper. Watercolor paper is thicker and it's more sturdy and it can handle all that water. Now, here's how I add layers of color. So I take more ink than my first layer and I start following underneath the lines, because that's where the shadows would be, right? Is like where the two petals meet. So I'm just going to start adding darker color, less water, more color into those lines. And I'm just following along the lines. Along the layers. Right, and in the center, they're all kind of bunched up and they'll be a little bit darker. And with the bigger petals, you can bring the shadows out even more, right? And add more color if you want. Okay, so there's one flower. Let's go on to this one. And I'm kind of running out of ink, so I need to get more ink. Let me smash my lid. This bundle's so cool. Like, I am so glad that I finally decided to get it, because I love the layering. I love the masks. They make it really easy to make these beautiful roses. I just like, there's like a lot of techniques that you can do with this, lots of different ways to color it. Okay, so there's my second rose. This is another big rose here, so I'm going to start with darker color on the inside and just get my brush a little bit wetter and less ink for the outside. It's really hard to go out of the lines, and I think that's something that I love about this, is that like it kind of holds the water and the ink within the lines, and that's fun. So now I can start to add shading. And I am not an artist by any means whatsoever. So if I can do this, you absolutely can do it. There's no right or wrong. So this is what I've got so far. See? It's just artistic freedom is really what it is. Now, you will have to use some artistic freedom to determine what's a flower and what's a leaf, and that is up to you. And guess what? It's your card, and nobody is the boss of you. And if you want this to be a flower, you make it a flower. And if you want it to be a leaf, you make it a leaf, and none will be the wiser. And if they are the wiser, they don't deserve one of your beautiful handmade cards. If they want to call you out on it and be like, that's not where a flower goes, you'd be like, and give me my card back. All right, so there's my flowers. That's where I have determined all my flowers will be. Okay. And they're done. So now I'm going to clean my brush and I'm going to start doing the blue, or I'm sorry, the green. Now I feel like Shy Shamrock and Summer Splash are very, very close to the same color. I feel like they kind of got the same tones going on. So my hope is that you'll be able to tell the difference between these two colors. And if you and for my in color people, if you don't have Shy Shamrock, that's okay. There's so many different greens. Just grab another ink, grab another green, and go to town. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And again, I'm going to take some creative liberties and determine what's a leaf and what's not. And that's okay. And a lot of the stems and stuff, a lot of the leaf, the flower stems, they're all white because that's what they were in Boston. So this isn't going to be, 100% accurate. It's going to be just pretty. We just care that it's pretty, right? I just love the white border. I think it's very pretty. And some of your leaves can be dark. Some of your leaves can be light. And you can also do the layers, right? You can go in with a light shade and fill it in. And then you can come back and do some dark shadowing, which I'm going to do. I'm just going to this is what I'm going to call the base layer. I'm just filling in the leaves. Filling in the leaves. Some of them are so tiny. Like these little guys right here. I missed them. But yeah, you'll need good lighting, and it's kind of hard to see the white on white. This might not be, if you have hard time seeing things, got some vision limitations, this might not be the technique for you, but you could definitely, you could emboss it in black and then watercolor. You can emboss it in gold and watercolor. That would be gorgeous. That would be a lot easier to see, and it would still be very, very, very visually beautiful. Okay. So there's my first layer of the green. It is very similar to the blue, but I think you can tell them apart. I think it's really pretty. So now I'm going to take less water and more ink, and I'm just going to kind of follow the veins a little bit and just kind of get that green into the shadows, into the veins. Okay. And I just like that contrast. That green just pops. Because the flowers are light, right? And so adding that depth to the leaves, I think it just helps not wash everything out. So I am not squeezing my water painter, not adding any additional water to my brush. I just want color so that I've got a darker shade coming out of my brush. Less water, more ink. Okay, there we go. All right, there's my flowers. Look how pretty they are. And yes, I got out of the lines a little bit in some places, but that's okay. No one's going to be able to tell. It's watercolor, for goodness sakes. When is watercolor ever in the lines? I feel like watercolor is the boss of itself, and it puts the color where it thinks it should go. I am going to use a little bit of yellow just to get some of these little centers, but it's a very, very tiny amount. Let me clean the green off my brush. And we're going to go in with some yellow and just touch the centers of these little side flowers. Okay, perfect. You guys probably couldn't even see it on camera. Okay. All right, so this has to dry for a second before I cut it. I don't want to ruin it by cutting it while it's wet. So I'll give it a second, but I'll hold this up close so you guys can see the flowers. See, this is a time-consuming card. This card is definitely one you want to make for someone that you care a lot about because it's very time-consuming. Okay, we need to emboss this piece. So this piece of basic white is actually embossed, and it just adds a pretty layer in the background. So this is the embossing folder I chose. I don't even know what it's called, but I like it. So this piece is 3 3/4 by 5, and we're just going to emboss that. I'm just going to actually do it off camera here real quick. Okay. And we're going to glue these pieces of designer series paper and embossed basic white on our card base. So this piece is a piece of the In Color DSP, and it is 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm just going to glue this at an angle across the front of my card. My favorite word, cattywampus, if you will. It is so relaxing, the color, Amanda. I love it. All right, and then you get to pick which side of the embossing folder you want to see. I like the raised side being up, so I'm going to put adhesive on the back. Everything about this card is up to you, right? It's your creative freedom to decorate however you choose. So I did this crooked the opposite direction as the DSP. Okay. All right. So now we have a scrap of paper and we're going to cut a label. We're going to cut this big label here out of Karen does Cattywampus. Oh, she's my hero. I love her. I love Karen Titus. These are the nested essential dies. And I'm going to take this kind of rounded oval rectangle thing, if you will. It's the second smallest. We're going to die cut a little label. We're also going to die cut some of these beautiful leaves. Remember I was talking about those leaves in the set? We've got 2 different sizes here. We've got this large one and the small one. Ugh, so hard to get off of these things. I need to put this on a magnetic sheet. Okay, so we're going to cut out a bunch of these, and we're going to cut out this, and then we'll cut out our flower. So let's do all that. All that die cutting. Ooh. You guys can see the mess that is the side of my desk here. I guess I don't need these blending brushes anymore. I can put them up. I am going to need my piercing tool, though. Put my marker away. My ink pad away. Okay. So we're going to die cut a bunch of leaves and a label. And I do need my piercing tool just to get all of the leaves pushed out. And I cut about 4 or 5 of these. Just to have some options. So pretty. Layers of beauty is correct. It's just beautiful. Just so beautiful. Okay, one more set should do it. Let's go ahead and take these guys out. And I like the design of the leaves. The rounded with the little centers. I just think it's really pretty, all of it. Okay, so let's push these guys out. Okay, and the little guy. Okay, and then we need to push out the centers. Oh, I guess I need to cut the big flower out now, don't I? I was so eager to get rid of the machine when I haven't cut out the big masterpiece here yet. Big focal piece. I'll go ahead and do that off camera here. Just being careful to line it up. That would be like the saddest thing, is to have done all that work painting and then have it cut wrong. That'd be very sad. But what's really cool is that the background's all white, so even if I cut it wrong, you wouldn't be able to tell. Ha ha ha. Okay, so basically you're going to figure out how you want this glued to your card. Oh my gosh, that blue is just so pretty. I love it. Okay, and then you're going to take your little leaves. We're just doing a dry run. That's all we're doing. We're just looking at it, testing it out, getting a feel for it. And we're just going to figure out where we want these extra leaves at, right? Just maybe we want it out there. Maybe we want a little one poking out over here. You know, so we're just kind of figuring it out, testing the waters. And I do have one that I put right here. We can do a big one right here. Like so. And we have little ones that we can stuff in somewhere else. So let's go ahead and put dimensionals on the back of this guy. Lots of dimensionals. Okay, and then I like to put little ones too, just for support. And then I'm going to use my glue dots for these leaves. So I'm going to actually take my leaves and stick them down to glue dots. Like so. Okay. So then what I do is I take the leaves. Now I know that my flower is going to go like this. So I know I want one back here. So I'm going to put this one here. I know that I wanted the little one here. So I'm going to stick it to the back of here. I wanted a big one right down here. So just making sure that it's not going off the page, right? I think I want 2 on this one. So let's do another one over here like that. Okay. So now I've got my leaves down. So now I can take the backing off of my dimensionals. It pays to have nails. Okay. All right. So then we're going to stick this bad boy down. Like so. Okay. So we've got all those. And then we're going to stamp this with the sentiment Happy Anniversary from the Layers of Beauty. And I'm doing it in Summer Splash again, keeping with that blue tone. Can you double up the paper to cut more? Double up what, the leaves or the roses? Are you talking about the roses? Ah, I did the wrong one. What was I thinking? I stuck it on a block and then stamped Grateful for You. Well, that was dumb. Let me cut another label. Because I do think this card is beautiful, that it should be like a wedding card or an anniversary card. So I do want it to be very, very pretty. Okay, let's try that again with my brain intact a little bit. And Happy Anniversary just barely fits, but it does fit. There we go. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Leaves? Yeah, I think you could double up the paper and cut out more leaves at one time. Probably 2 at the max. But yeah, I think so. All right, let's go ahead and stick our last set of leaves. I think this time I'm going to do down here since there's no leaves down here. But I just have to make sure that I'm going to use a smaller one down there. So I want to make sure they don't go off the edge of the card. Like that. Look how pretty that is. Oh my gosh. Is it bad that I'm covering up some of the flower though? Should I move it? Should I move it to this corner? Like that? Oh yeah, that's pretty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put dimensionals down in this bottom corner and then the rest will be liquid glue so that it's all the same level. So dimensionals there. Liquid glue here. And then glue that down. So, oh no, that's fine. I was like, oh, I forgot the baker's twine, but no. Okay, so I've got that stamped. Now I'm gonna do, or got it glued down. Now I'm gonna do a little bow out of my linen, my baker's thread. My linen thread, baker's twine. Goodness, my words. And we're gonna stick it on a glue dot. Oh, not perfect. Perfect. And then we're gonna stick it down right there on the side of the sentiment. Cute. Look how pretty that is, you guys. The blue is so soft and gorgeous. And then we can add some embellishments. Oh, so pretty. I love this bundle, you guys. And I truly do feel like Stampin' Up! Has too many flower sets, but I cannot fault them for this gorgeous, beautiful one. I love it. I absolutely love this set. Look how stunning it is. Actually, I don't think it belongs down there. Let's move it. Oh my gosh. So pretty. So pretty. Well, if you have this bundle, you are awesome because you're one step closer to making these gorgeous cards. And if you don't, you should definitely add it to your shopping cart, especially this month because of the bonus days. If you don't know what bonus days are, for every $50 you spend, you get $5 coupon to spend next month. And it's so fun. You when you place your order, you automatically get the email with the coupon codes. And for every $50, you get a $5 coupon code. And you can collect all the coupon codes and use them in August to offset the cost of your purchase. And it's just so much fun. I love it. I love collecting them all month long and then getting to enter all those codes with my next order in August. So it's a lot of fun. And if you're part of In Color Club, I'll be sending you a tutorial, PDF tutorial. It'll have a link to this video, so it'll link you to my live video because, hey, killing two birds with one stone. I'm showing off the projects and I'm also providing you with the video tutorial. So I've kind of been doing that this year. It's like, okay, let's work smarter, not harder. And then for one lucky one of you guys who's commented with the hashtag layers of beauty, I'm actually going to give you a set of these cards. And you can choose. You can tell me when I announce the winner. You can tell me if you want Petunia Pop or if you want Summer Splash. And I'll send you a set of the cards. Plus, I'll send you the PDF tutorial to make these cards over and over and over. All right. So let's see who our lucky winner is for the prize. Let me share my screen. And here we go. We got 24 entries. Who's it gonna be? Becky White. Becky, congratulations. Yay. Okay, so Becky, you just need to let me know which color you want. Congratulations. Yay. Thank you everybody who shared my video, who commented, who watched along with me today. And you guys are amazing and have a safe and cool week. And we'll see you next Sunday, okay? Bye, everybody. And Becky says purple. She says, Papa Petunia. Okay, or Petunia Pop. All right, guys, bye.